Now, Paul's cracking his knuckles. He's getting ready. He's getting ready for this because some of you might be aware. It's been all over social media, just on a few channels, that there were some rumours that Ruesha Littlejohn had her contract terminated by London City to apparently make way for younger players. Now, it was official, and even on the kickback, which she does with her sister Shaban, they both said, we can't say anything. Things are happening, but we just can't say anything, so we're not going to. Now, I can't wait until that's lifted and they can tell us all of the details. However, it was announced that it has been a mutual agreement has been reached between Ruesha and the club. However, Ruesha has been silent, whether that's through an NDA or whether it's because, she's thought better of it. Only time will tell. However, her Irish team, I was going to say companions.
Teammates.
Teammates, that's the one. I don't know where I was going with that thought. But yeah, her teammates, especially Denise O'Sullivan and Grace Maloney, have all come out essentially hinting at the fact that she needs to find a club that's going to value her and treat her better. So there's definitely something going on behind the scenes. So we've talked before about Michelle Kang being this phenomenal businesswoman and putting so much money into the game. But ultimately, women's football is a completely different brand to the men's. It is a completely different game, and the fan bases are different, and just it feels like, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but like the values are a bit different in the way we see things. So Paul, in this sense, Michelle Kang, if this has happened and it wasn't mutual, it's a very cutthroat business decision to do it. Is it what's that impact going to be on the game if we see more ruthlessness? Because the men's game is quite brutal, isn't it? But we don't quite see that enough in the women's.
First of all, I think this is about as mutual as Czechoslovakia as the Sudetenland joining Germany.
Oh, nice history reference.
Wow,
there's a history reference.
As a A-level historian who's done the rise of Germany in that era, I get you the Munich Agreement and all that. Yep.
Michelle Kang is going to appear on telly with a piece of white paper going, I have here in my hand.
Yeah. Peace in our time.
Peace in Ruesha's time. No, I don't think Michelle Kang realises what she's done. Genuinely. No. Because Rusha Littlejohn, and I talked about this a bit, Rusha Littlejohn is a cult heroine. Like in women's football, she is I wouldn't say she's untouchable, but she has built herself a platform and a brand which has made her more than just Ruesha Littlejohn, Irish international football player. And it's almost as if that now, as she's coming towards the latter stages of her career, has become secondary. Like she's in a weird place where she's still a footballer, and she's still a very good footballer.
I was going to say, sometimes people forget, don't they, just how good she actually is.
Let's not forget she's an Irish international who has played many, many times for her country, has done a huge amount of work for the women's game in the Republic of Ireland, and has also leveraged that and her personality and some occasionally dramatic moments, shall we say, in her career. To the point where she has a very large, very loyal fan base, a lot of whom, if my Twitter likes about the subject are to go by, are girls of a certain age who all like Phoebe Bridgers. Now, that's...
Wow. Okay.
And
okay.
So
what a way
she has, and because of that, and possibly as a representative of that community of people as well, she has inspired a lot of loyalty and a lot of strong feelings about support. to the point where she is probably the player who I pick as the poster child, if you like, of the thing that happens in women's football far more than men's, where people are fans of players rather than clubs, and will follow those players around clubs. And, you know, I haven't got any stats, but it is very obvious that her joining London City has done a huge amount for London City's fan base and social media following. And Ruesha talking about them on the kickback and talking about them is going to pull people in to a club which has no history. It has no established tradition of families supporting. You know, there aren't households in London going, oh yeah, we're a London City Lionesses household, we support the, you know, in the same way that there are Arsenal households, there are Chelsea households, there are, you know, I am a Coventry City fan, at least partly because I grew up in a household that supported them.
Yeah.
And it was like, right, the first, and you know, you go, and the key thing they say is the first team you go to watch, the first live football game you go to watch. You know, Bobby Robson talked about it. You know, that first sight of going up the steps onto the pitch or that sort of thing. London City don't have that because, firstly, no bugger went to Prince's Park and went, wow, this is amazing. And secondly, there's just no, you know, they were formed in 2019. There's nothing there. So Ruesha was London City to a lot of people. And you only have to look at the Instagram comments on the announcing of her signing, even leaving aside her teammates, of the number of people who are like, fine, we just won't support London City. We came to London City because Ruesha was a London City player.
Yeah, loads of people in the comments were like, unfollowed, can't believe you've done this. She deserves so much better. And it's just, the backlash. I don't know if, again, the higher ups, again, if it's true, again, we can only assume, it hasn't been handled the best.
I mean, football is a ruthless business, and we're always talking about how we want women's football to be more ruthless. And we've spoken before about how there is perhaps too much focus and too much concern with players' off-field lives. And Adam, as an Arsenal fan, you'll be more than aware.
I'm not going to comment. I prefer to keep my comments on things on the pitch.
Indeed. I wasn't asking you to comment on it. I was mainly saying that
I know what you infer of.
If you look at Arsenal Twitter, there is a lot of discussion and a lot of focus.
There's a lot of discourse.
And there's a lot of discourse about it.
Yeah.
Possibly more so than the players' actions on the pitch. And Rusha Littlejohn inspires that level of support, and is, you know, on the pure face of it, letting a player go who is nearer the end of her career than the beginning, and has been injured, may have seemed like a cold-headed business decision, and it is, and that's what Michelle Kang does. However, it's going to backfire. It's, you know, put it this way, if I was an owner of a football club and I was looking for a player to annoy, a player who was a cult heroine among the women's football fan base with her own nationally broadcast podcast and sister as a prominent women's football media person, probably not the person I'll piss off.
No. And with Tony talking about the crazy Australian woman on TikTok with the whiteboard, who wears Ruesha's City Journey. That is at Gay News with Brooke. We do all follow her, you are right. Who talks about all of the drama and all the conspiracy theories. But yeah, the fact that people in Australia are fans of Rusha Littlejohn, like other side of the world, and you just think, this is someone who, if you played it, if we're being realistic, judging from all the evidence, probably big clash of personalities. Probably they didn't want maybe as much of that kind of attention on the club, possibly. what you could have done, because Rusha is 34, I believe. So even transition her to what, being a player coach, if that's what she wanted to do, or transition her as being more of a club captain, or, you know, working in different ways, working within the club, but, you know, changing her role slightly if you maybe didn't want her as part of the squad, as part. So there are definitely other ways in which this could have been done, but it just seems very, very strange how it's all come out. Adam, did you have any thoughts?
A few. Again, my focus is usually on the pitch, so that's my attention. And I think what defines if this decision right or is not right, it will be the table at the end of the season, because we should be clear: sentimentality does not win you titles. And I know I'm an Arsenal fan. We are very sentimental. That means that doesn't affect your goal difference, doesn't affect your points. So if Michelle's saying, you know, it's great, yeah, we've got all these fans that or support Ruesha, they're not London City Lionesses fans, they're Ruesha fans. Well, you want your club to be support. You want the fans to support your club. And I look at us last summer, we're in New Year now. We moved on Vivian Miedema, which caused outrage, and fans said, "Fine, we're not going to support Arsenal. We'll follow Miedema to Manchester City." You know, we love. I came to Arsenal because I was because I supported Vivian Miedema. I'm a Vivian Miedema fan, not me, but people who have that opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fine, but there are some people who found Arsenal, as I say, a Miedema fan, and then found their home at Arsenal, and then say, okay, Miedema's gone, but I will stay. There are people who maybe were Ruesha fans, found London City Lionesses through Ruesha, and realised, actually, I quite like this club. You know, Ruesha, because players don't stay forever. You know, as much as we love the idea of a one-player club who will stay, I want Russo to stay at Arsenal forever. She won't. She will move, just as every other player does. And so yes, that whole sentimentality thing. Now, agree. There is an element of, I think there is Paul spot on with Ruesha, whereas her cult status and what she is beyond football in terms of broadcasting, as terms of personality, has exceeded her as a footballer, which happens, and it helps that she's obviously the work she does with Shaban. Michelle's obviously just looked at the spreadsheet, she's looked at the team and thought, are we a better team? Are we more likely to get into, not just get into WSL, but in a better position to stay in the WSL, because as other teams have shown, Bristol City last season, and you could argue maybe Crystal Palace there in the bottom at the moment, are we going to be in a better position to get promoted and secure with or without Ruesha in the team? Are having thousands of followers on TikTok and YouTube and people wearing Ruesha shirts going to keep us in the WSL, going to get us in the WSL?
Yeah.
Or are we better off getting somebody else in? That's the decision you've got to make. Now, obviously, there'll be outrage. There'll be people who will be fine and leave, and that's fine. I would say with London City Lionesses, they do have history, because in the former life they were Millwall Lionesses, and then obviously there was the whole thing where they broke apart and went independent. So there may well be people who were Millwall fans who decided to follow.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment, I think the big question is how it was handled. I should say, shout out to Shaban with the funniest comment, saying that she's had more clubs than a certain a golfer's name who I forget, but if you get kind of club history, it's pretty impressive. She said look at you go, you have more clubs than the golfer, but we'll see what happens. I think there's a few more. I think she's got another club in her, and we should say Ruesha is an Arsenal legend because she scored a hat-trick against Spurs in one of her 2 games or 3 games she played for us, and then she went on to do something else. So she has that history of Arsenal in London County Cup ties. So yeah, wish her all the best. Obviously, sad it's ended this particular way, and it's not nice.
No.
But Michelle obviously thinks that the best way forward for the club is without her at the club, and the only way we'll find out is at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's the thing from a business perspective. You know, she hasn't got as successful as she is by making easy decisions, has she? And as in the chat, just as a different, and I will lose people. I'm not talking over you. Bruce in the chat, see what the big deal is. Was a good business decision for the club, but not for Ruesha. And that is the difference, especially when you're so attached to a player. It's hard to then maybe cut off sometimes to see the other side. Yeah, Paul, what were we going to say?
I disagree with that. I think it was a beautifully made argument from Adam, and I agree with large parts of it, but I disagree with it because I think you are coming at that argument as a fan of a club that is bigger than its players, which it is.
Yeah.
You know, whatever
Mm.
women's Twitter might say, and I was incredibly critical of them letting Viv Miedema go. I am slowly being proved wrong, admittedly, by Mariana Caldente playing extremely well. She came on at 0-0, for example, against
got a goal.
Brighton,
got a
and they
goal
went
too.
4-0. So,
Yeah.
but I think if you look at it from the perspective of a club like London City, if Rusha wanted to, she could torpedo that club. Because
I know what you mean, but because her personality and her cult status is bigger than the club, because London City Lionesses is in the Genesis stage.
Like you say, women's football is not men's football. Women's football does have that sentimentality in it, and you know, if she comes out, let's say she goes to the Athletic and does a
tell-all
exclusive interview, which I have no doubt her phone's ringing off the hook at the moment, and the sports lawyers are telling her what she can and can't do and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, take a picture, yeah.
But you know, let's say she goes to the Athletic and she says, right, here is the story of why I left London City, and it turns out that it was bad acting by London City. That brand is destroyed. Like literally, like London City as a brand are destroyed, and it doesn't matter if they go up to the WSL. Nobody will watch them because they have no fan base, and most of their fan base will go, well, we'll go and watch Arsenal, or we'll go and watch Chelsea, or we'll go and watch Crystal Palace.
I think you would always get the core group, and I would always say, I don't like, this is my personal opinion, I get that there are women who are bigger than football clubs because of what they are. I don't like that power imbalance personally. For me, I feel the club should always, if a player is too big for the club, then really the player should move to a club which is big enough for them, if that makes sense. You can be too big for the room that you're in, and you may think, and I think sometimes we had that with some players who have departed Arsenal, who are such cult status that maybe they've gone beyond the club itself. For me, I prefer the club to be the bigger entity. And I think with London City Lionesses and Rusha, it was absolutely that the power balance was completely the other way around. I think we can agree on that.
I think it's interesting you say that as an Arsenal fan, given there are arguably several players at Arsenal who are in.
And I don't like that. But that's just my opinion. My love is for the club first, and the players that play for my club. And I know I am not, as you said, there are fans who are fans of players, which is absolutely brilliant. But that's not my way into Arsenal. Like I said, I'm almost back to front in that sense. So that's where I see my priority first.
Let's say Leah Williamson left Arsenal.
Yeah, it'd be gutting, but she'd leave.
It would be gutting. But I think if she were to then come out and hypothetically do a tell-all of being badly treated by Arsenal, that would set Arsenal back as a brand.
It would.
Yes, and that's the power she has.
It would certainly throw a hand grenade into the fan base, but I would also say that the Arsenal as an institution, given its history with the men's and with the women's, would recover from it. I think it's actually also probably one of the few clubs who would survive a massive tell-all conspiracy. I don't think there is anything to suggest, because I think that they are a pretty well-run club. I think we could think of certain clubs maybe in Manchester who may have more to say on such a thing, which we may get to later. But I say, double Arsenal, if there was a big sort of, I think they would be able to ride out. And if we should say I remember there was a piece during lockdown, I think, where some players were actually unhappy with the way things were run at the club, and they made some changes, and it was all fine. But I think there are definitely other clubs, and I think probably Lions United is one of the ones where it would do severe damage. I would say maybe some other clubs in the WSL. No, I'm not going to say Aston Villa. I'm not going to do that. That'd be rude.
That's a different podcast. That's tomorrow night. This is on a Thursday. Come and join us.
The thing that will be interesting now is if anybody is aware that she has that power, it will be Rusha. And I wonder if Michelle Kang is. I think she's made a mistake here, and I think she's, even as someone who's worked in women's football, this was her way into European women's football, and she's come in, thrown money at London City, probably expected signing Aslani and Jakobsen will walk the championship.
Not really realizing how hard it is.
It's very hard. It's very hard to get out of. What I would add though is if Ruesha does a tell-all, that's also kind of burning her own bridges, because what kind of club would employ her if they know that she, after that, would you as a club sign up somebody who is, would do something like that if things went south? So there is an element of, you've got to be to protect your own interests as well, and that's another dynamic to think about. So I think
if Ruesha was 25 years old, I think that would come into play. But I think
if she chose to
is the
retire
type
now,
of person who will burn her bridge.
Yeah. If she chose to retire now and do a tell-all, I wouldn't blame her. I could see that, but I think she probably wants one more club, so we'll see.
And she's got it in her. She's got it in her one more club. And I think it's down to do like with manager as well. Like if you're clashing personalities with managers, and Ruesha has been very outspoken about how that's happened in the past, you need people like an Emma Hayes, like a Carla Ward, like someone who you can still have that bit of banter, but you know where that line is, and there's that mutual respect and that kind of thing. And maybe Carla Ward getting the Island job, maybe that's kind of maybe Ruesha's last kind of hurrah, as we will, because I think that partnership will work really, really well. But yeah, we shall see. We'll keep you updated with all of the latest. But yeah, that was last night. And I do have to say, it was the most formal post London City have ever posted. So it was definitely very scripted and very do not go off beast. Keep it very formal and very to the point.